As the emerald ash borer continues to spread throughout the state, the Department of Natural Resources is trying to make use of some of the infected trees. They held an ash salvage sale this week at the Jackson, Washington State Forest, allowing loggers to purchase timber from trees the bug has invaded. It's the first of several sales planned throughout the state. While the DNR says it's a way to generate revenue from trees that will eventually have to come down, activists worry about the implications for state forests. Barbara Harrington reports.
Comiskey logger Danny Richards is heading into the office at the Jackson, Washington State Forest, ready to bid on some timber.
I sell to several different sawmills.
But there's something different about this week's sale. Among the trees up for grabs is a species that's become increasingly vulnerable in the forest over the past year.
The leaves dropped off. We began to see a lot of woodpeckers in the campground, seeing a lot of woodpecker sign on the trees. Really good telltale sign that, the ash has got something going on with it.
Here in the Jackson, Washington State Forest, you can see the havoc that the emerald ash borer has wreaked on many trees. The DNR says there's no way to save them, so they're salvaging them.
It's not discriminating. It's hitting all of our ash. We're going through and taking the ones that we know most likely will not make it till next year or won't even make it through the summer.
This section of the forest near Starve Hollow is being hit especially hard. Peeling away the bark reveals never-ending galleries and infested trees, massive destruction caused by tiny larvae. The Division of Forestry says trees like this one would have to be removed eventually because once they die, they pose safety hazards. So they're allowing loggers to come in and remove the trees before they get to that point.
Those ash trees will be dead from the time they're infested until they die is anywhere from 3 to 5 years.
The first ash salvage sale at the Jackson, Washington State Forest brought in about $36,000. That revenue helps pay for the state forest's operating expenses, and 15% of it will go into Jackson County's general fund. Another portion of the money goes to the volunteer fire department. But the Division of Forestry says the salvage sales aren't about the money.
These trees are going to die. There's no question about that. And so the only thing we're doing is making sure that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' resources.
According to a draft of the Division of Forestry's Forest Resource Management Guide, the purpose of ash salvage is to reduce the availability of the host food source for EAB, thereby potentially slowing the spread of the insect and also utilizing ash trees before they decay.
The ash seed will still be in the soil, so the ash will come back, and our hope is that once the borer comes through the first time and takes out all the big trees, then obviously without a food source, the population is going to crash. And so ash trees will make a comeback.
Everything to the east, north.
But as Hoosier Forest Watch coordinator Mike Luerstema looks at a portion of trail closed for timber removal, he's worried about the future of ash trees in state forests. The Coalition for Urban Ash Tree Conservation, which is made up of arborists, entomologists, and public works officials from across the country, released a statement in 2011 saying removal and destruction of ash trees in infected areas is not an effective way to prevent further infection.
What this represents is this pattern of using selective science or no science to support a forest management plan that maximizes commodity timber production on state forests, on public forests, over habitat preservation, over public recreation.
The Indiana Forest Alliance has been making that argument for decades, ever since logging in state forests started increasing. It's gone up more than 1,000% over the past 10 years. Instead of marking infected ash trees with orange paint to identify them for salvage, Luerstema wants the Division of Forestry to let nature take its course and see how the forest responds to the emerald ash borer.
We would like to see the Division of Forestry set aside large, contiguous, intact blocks of state forest land for two reasons. One, for low-impact public recreation such as hiking and hunting and backcountry camping, but also for forest habitat, for interior forest species and to monitor how forests respond to disturbances as a scientific control.
But loggers like Richard say they've seen firsthand how the woods respond to the emerald ash borer, and it's devastating. This map shows just how prevalent the pest is throughout the state. Richard says by holding the ash salvage sales, the DNR is making the best out of a very bad situation.
You can let it rot and fall down, or you can get the value of it, and you know you're utilizing the resources better by harvesting it.
The Division of Forestry says ash salvage sales will be held as needed throughout the state. That means there's no cap on how much timber they can sell.